Begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It is Milton, Ben, and I, Chris, aka Starrapter. This is going to do it for episode 199 for Outer Rim Transmission. Getting close to 200 here. Landmark episode coming up next week, hopefully, as we do every week here, mostly. So this week we are finally catching up on all the news out of Star Wars Celebration. And lucky for us, we got news really recently about the said topic, which is all going to be about mainly Star Wars Starfighter, the movie after The Mandalorian Grogu, which we got news is going to be 2027. So we're going to get into all the details, casting, director, all that good stuff, plot synopsis, everything that we know so far about that movie, and what other topics might come up, because guys, the well has sort of run dry after seems like months we've been reviewing stuff at this point, because it literally has been. So we're back into the usual swing of things where it's like that news, speculation, all the good stuff to keep us going until the next content release, which we don't really know. But anyway, it's good to see you back, Milton. I know you were fighting something last week, so it's good to see you in good health again. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back like always. Yeah, it wasn't a good weekend in the sense of not feeling great, but I'm recovered. Obviously, we're still working on getting our wedding planned and working on honeymoon plans. So right now, my time has been super crazy busy, but that's a good thing. There's always time to fit in some Star Wars conversation. So let's get into it.
Heck yeah, man. We really appreciate your time, because we know things have got to be getting real hectic. You have a countdown, I'm sure. How many days?
Today's what, the 8th? So 20 days. 20
Wow.
days. Yesterday we did some shopping for alcohol. We're just wrapping up like the little stuff that goes with it. But there's a couple few, not big things, but like, major things that still need to be wrapped up. But we're getting there. So 20 days until, I'm officially married. And then after that, it's just a transition of where I'm going to live, selling my house, that type of thing. So, a lot of adulting, but that's another conversation for another day.
There we go. Yeah. Really awesome time coming up. And what about you, Ben? What have you been up to in the last 7 days' time?
Yeah, I mean, just the normal, really, just working out, spending time with family, just watch my sister's dog when they were on vacation, just the normal stuff this time of year, really, and then just engaging with different Star Wars things. Like we said, getting surprise Star Wars news we weren't expecting, and then also an interesting topic for my week in Star Wars, actually, that I was going to just jump right into, since it's a little more detailed. So I seen someone float this idea out there, and I started looking more and more into it, and I just through Google and searching, and I've seen other folks bring this up. So the ending fight between Vader and Luke in Return of the Jedi, like right when Luke goes to slash at Vader, on the surface level, it's like Vader's, protecting the Emperor, of course. But then the interesting part about it is, like, if you reverse engineer and backtrack like through the movie, Luke's obviously seeing cracks in Vader when he has this conversation with him on Endor, and even, Vader even in Empire is trying to like turn Luke to like, hey, let's take down the Emperor, yada yada yada. And like the thing is with this whole idea got sparked for my week in Star Wars, because someone put this idea out there where it's like, since Vader already was starting to have cracks in, the literal or the figurative armor of that persona back to Anakin, it makes you wonder, when you connect it back to how things went down in Revenge of the Sith when Anakin turned, if Anakin, for that split second, instead of letting Luke kill the Emperor, was Anakin stopping Luke from going down that same path for that split second, because then we know Vader goes back to his Vader persona kind of in the fight when he's trying to turn Luke and talk about turning Leia, yada yada, and then Vader eventually goes back to being good. So it's just like, when you look at it in that perspective, like thematically, like it makes sense. And it's like, yeah, I wonder, because like if Vader truly wanted to take down the Emperor, he should have just let Luke do it. I mean, it was right there, right on the silver platter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, I seen someone put that idea out there like thematically, and it's like, it kind of makes sense. Like, Anakin was stopping his son from going down the same path, and then the dark side continued to take over Anakin for part of that fight, and then it didn't. So it's just I wanted to throw that little idea out there I saw, and I just seen it just scrolling through TikTok, and I was like, oh, let me bring it up on the podcast. But yeah, it was an interesting way to look at Return of the Jedi now.
Yeah, right. That's the thing about Star Wars is that the franchise is going to be 50 years old in 2 years, and we're still mining new theories, new ideas, especially as more expanded content, as we'll get into in a moment here, where I have my week in Star Wars to talk about. It just keeps evolving. This is truly what makes Star Wars a modern mythology. It's really cemented in telling us new lessons and giving us this, it's like the Iliad and Homer's Odyssey and all these things from the Greek times as like the old myths, and Star Wars 200 years from now is going to be that sort of thing. But yeah, mining every little detail and discussions like this this is great. This is what Star Wars is all about, especially in these times where it's like, okay, there's reviews to talk about and different things, like I said before, but we're going to go back now, because that's the thing with Star Wars is, as much as we like the new stuff, we're always like, and that's part of the problem with Disney Plus is like, they've been pumping out content. Like, when's the last time you thought about Skeleton Crew? Like, we haven't even had time to digest Skeleton Crew. Happens to be my girlfriend's favorite Star Wars in years. And you got that, and it's like we haven't really talked about Skeleton Crew since it came out, because we're already looking forward to the next thing. So now we're looking back at a 47. What is it? How old is Return of the Jedi? Like 40? Yeah, it's like 47 years old, or I don't even know. No, it's like 45 years
like
old or something.
45 years, yeah, like 45 years.
So look at that. It's great. It's great. Any thoughts on this, Milton?
Listen, there's always a different perspective when you look at the films. Actually, what did I see the other day where it's like I resaw it differently? It was one of the movies or the shows, and I'm thinking like, yeah, this could have turned out completely different. It might have been like Revenge of the Sith, but it's like you look at how that movie could have potentially played out based off of what was set in front of us. It could have been a completely different universe if things went slowly or surely a different way. But no, I think that's a good perspective that you pointed out, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it's always interesting seeing those types of things, and I just had to bring that up, especially like we said, we're kind of in the Star Wars. Well, we thought we were in the Star Wars off season until this week happened with all the news we got.
Yeah. So I'll keep it brief. Like I said, I have two things to talk about. First thing, I was at a midnight launch, and it wasn't for a Star Wars movie or anything like that, but it was actually for this really cool device I've been playing around with, the Nintendo Switch 2. I waited in line at around 8 o'clock in a Central Jersey Best Buy, and it brought me back to the days of like the good old waiting in line for Star Wars movies, because everybody had their chairs, we were camped out, and I brought my old Nintendo Switch with me, like thinking like, I'll just spend 4 hours like until midnight just sitting here after work and playing a game and killing time. I didn't do a single minute of that, because I was talking to everybody around me, and it was like that great communal experience. And it was funny because even in this where it pertains to Star Wars, because we even got into a Star Wars discussion at one point with these random people. I had no idea who they were. It turns out the one guy is actually the owner of the comic book store I go to. So that was great. He's like, "Hey, are you the guy that buys the skateboarding stuff, the bearings?" I'm like, "Yep, that's me." So we were talking about that. But then everybody, because there was all different generations. There was a guy that was with his grandfather. The guy was like 26 or 27. The grandfather was in his 80s. Then you had the guy, the store owner of the comic place. He's going to be 50 like in a month or something. So you had all these different generations. And we were talking about Star Wars. And it was so funny because, of course, the 80-year-old guy's throwing flack at the prequels, saying, they were boring, they were crap. I was trying to stick up for him a little bit. Like, no, there's really a lot of good depth in the prequels. You got to really dive deep. But then we were talking about, like, favorite moments. We were talking about, like, what stood out to you with the prequels, I was like, oh yeah, the kid was like, oh, the lava fight. Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, Mustafar, I can't forget that. I was like, oh, the Coliseum. And then the 50-something-year-old guy was going, Oh yeah, the next suit with a scratched Padme. Like it was a really fun kind of conversation. And then the 27-year-old said that he hated Jar Jar Binks. So then at that point I was like, wow, that's the first time I heard like a younger person really hating Jar Jar Binks, because I feel like most of the people from our generation are like more sympathetic to that character. So I was, it was fun because it was a very organic conversation, like how we got onto Star Wars, and we're just sitting there in a Best Buy parking lot with our chairs and just hanging out, waiting to get this system, and we're deep diving into Star Wars. That was fun. It brought me back to like even the recent movies. There hasn't been a midnight release, because now the movies that they have a Thursday preview, they come out on like at like 6 or 7 p.m. So you don't have that whole experience of like waiting to the wee hours of the morning and all that. But other than that, I think the last midnight launch I went to, I was thinking about this today, might have actually been for Star Wars Battlefront 1. Because back in the day, that might have been one of the last physical game releases I had, because I would used to go to GameStop all the time to get the Call of Duty that year at midnight, to go get, the Grand Theft Auto 5. I vividly remember the Grand Theft Auto 5 line, a couple of World of Warcraft expansions at midnight. Like, that was a thing, and it hasn't been a thing for like 10 years. So for me to be there doing that, we were all nostalgic, and everybody was talking, like most people were 30 or older, and we're all just going, this is great. The last time we did this, we were in high school, So it's funny as hell.
No, that's funny. So like, I'm trying to think the last time I went to a midnight release for a game. I think it might have been for Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
Like the PS4, PS5 version.
Yep.
Like, and that was what, 5-6 years ago, and I actually like that game. But you're right. I think back in like the mid 2000s, early teens, like that was a big deal. I mean, I used to go get 2K, NBA 2K early, or Madden when I played Madden early. Like, everyone looked forward to those launches, and I think now that we can get everything digitally, because a lot of the games I get are digital, I can download them, which is nice.
Yeah.
But even for NCAA, I don't think they did a new. Did they do an early release for the college football game last year?
No, now they just do it because everybody used to use the New Zealand method where they change their console. Yeah. So now they just release it at 4 p.m. every year.
Yeah. So so they do that release over line digitally, but like you don't do like a hard physical copy early, which is like I miss that nostalgic piece, regarding physical media. And yes, is it convenient to have the digital version? Absolutely. But there's something about standing in line with a whole bunch of nerds at a GameStop on Thursday night at 11:30 at night and just BSing for 30. You know what I'm saying? And like, oh, I've been here since 10, blah, blah. And we're talking about what we liked about the game, what we don't like, what about the movies. It's like there's something fun about that community. Like, and that goes back to, I think, what's missing from whether it's Star Wars, whether it's any type of like franchise, like we're missing that community piece. I wish we get back to that. I think a lot of fans would love to engage more if we had some of that old nostalgic type of, Force Fridays or early launches in line. And we don't have that no more because everything's digital. Everything's more convenient.
And that's,
so they're kind of taking that out of our hands.
Yeah, it's the internet. The dawn of the internet, it has really kind of helped things along, but also separated people. And the same kind of feeling, and I'm a broken record when I say this every freaking time, and what I'm about to say pertains to the news, is you go to Star Wars Celebration, and you feel like you're doing a midnight launch all weekend long, because you're waiting in nothing but lines, and you're talking to random people, you're talking to all these people about Star Wars, and that's the closest thing I say is go to Star Wars Celebration. It is a midnight launch for anything all weekend long. That's the vibe you get there. You don't get any negativity. Everybody's always excited, happy, ready to talk about the new things, but ready to talk and kill time about some old things. So there you go.
Yeah, those midnight launches, they're a lot of fun. I mean, last year, luckily, I got to experience the one with Phantom Menace, and that was a blast. It was like the old days, but before that, I mean, the last time I went to a physical one for like something new would have been for the first new Battlefront.
Yep. Yeah. So keeping it brief, I almost forgot about this book release because if it wasn't for often commenter and follower of the channel, Dark Nerdy Gonzo on Twitter, he put this out and said, "Hey, did you get this?" And I said, "Nope." And I proceeded after work today to go right to Barnes & Noble, and I picked myself up the expanded Legends collection of my favorite Star Wars Legends stories, Shadows of the Empire, with this beautiful new cover. Kind of reminds me of the N64 cover art of the game, with the Zizor's eyes in the background. We got a new look at Dash Rendar. We got a new look at Luke Skywalker. We got the YT 2400 Outrider in there. I'm buying the heck out of this. And I was like, everybody out there, do it, because we want to show Lucasfilm that we still care about Dash Rendar and Prince Zizor, everybody. We want to get these guys back in canon. Give me a t-shirt, I'll buy it. Any official merch. I tried to buy the Dash Rendar figure, Ben, and they were sold out. So that's a good sign. They're selling out of pre-orders on the Hasbro Pulse website for these things. So if that's not enough of a sign to Lucasfilm that we want this darn guy in canon, I don't know what else we could do but buy more books. So there you go. I'm going to have it on the shelf. I read the book recently, so maybe in another like 10 years I'll reread it or something. But I got it for the cover art. The cover art's sick.
Nice. Hey, there you go. Classic character, classic game, and story.
Yeah. There you go. Milton, I know you've been busy. I don't know if you have anything. I do want to hear from you. And if you have something else about your week, that's cool to say as well. But we want to get into a little bit of your thoughts. You were saying 2 weeks ago about the Cad Bane shorts. You favored them over the Savage Ventures ones. Me and Ben did a deep dive last week on the Cad Bane episodes. I liked them a lot, actually. After the second viewing, first viewing, I was like, huh? But I know Ben was kind of lukewarm on them for the most part. But if you want to provide some thoughts and feelings of the episodes, yeah.
We're talking Cad Bane, you said?
Yeah, the Cad Banes, the three Cad Bane ones.
I love those episodes. I think they were really, really well done. I actually enjoyed them more than I did Ventress. And I love Ventress. Like, she's a good character. But I felt seeing Cad from a callowed youth to a kid who was very much innocent. And then all of a sudden, his friend gets arrested, in that development of like, okay, I'm seeing this mercenary bounty hunter who's cool. And you saw how he mimicked his life pretty much, but also became who he did as an individual. So seeing that growth and that development of like literally being an innocent kid, and also you getting immersed into the world of bounty hunter, being a gangster, and how it really changes you. Yeah, I loved it. And then for us to see that he has a son, like, that was crazy. I didn't see that coming. Spoilers. So it's like, yeah, and his friend raised his son as his own, and it was insane. But he killed his best friend. It was well done. That's why I love these shorts so much. 15 minutes an episode, and there's so much storytelling, which is why I think a lot of the Star Wars fans get upset with Lucasfilm and Disney, where it's like, we know you're capable of telling strong character stories, and you give us this, but then you give us the movies, and it's like, wait, what happened here? Just give us a team that did the animation to write the movies. Like, it's crazy. So, and it goes into my other thing in Star Wars, with this week. But like, my brother and I, we talk all the time. He just texted me something about Rise of Skywalker, and about how can they make an unwatchable movie with a badass character like Palpatine, and like how his story went. And it's like, Chris, I don't know. And so that's where I think I try to be positive about Lucasfilm and Disney, but it's like, it's hard to at times. But back to the main focus, I love the Cad Bane episodes. They were great, very, very good storytelling, very good narrow through line. I love the arc that we told of him, and it was perfect, because you're like, okay, this is the Cad Bane that we know. How it ended, I was like, this is the Cad Bane that we know, 20 years later, which was perfect. So I think it was a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. I didn't feel it was weak. I didn't feel that it was flawed. I thought it was organically told perfectly with who that character is and what he will become.
Yeah, and that first initial watch, I'm not going to tread too much time and territory with it. It was just, my idea was like, oh, this is not giving us new layers of Cad Bane. We're not finding anything else necessarily new. It ends with us knowing like he is that badass bounty hunter. But here's where me and Ben were talking off air. It didn't dawn on me that was his son. I thought that was the other guy's son. I don't know if I must have missed some kind of context clue or reading between the lines or something, because
Yeah, so if you go back and watch Actually, it's the episode 2.
Okay.
Whenever they go back to take revenge on the sheriff or the marshal who killed
Yeah.
his mentor. Remember when he and Aaron were in the ship and she said about, why don't we just leave? We already have a future. We have. She made she said a phrase about we already have life or a phrase or something. She made a phrase
Okay.
that made you think like, oh, there's this more here, because she mentioned about like legacy or impact or something, and I'm
Uh,
like, why is she talking like that? And it's like, oh, she's pregnant. Like that's how I knew. I was like, oh, she has a
uh,
kid. And then because go back and listen to episode 2 when they're in the ship, she throws it out there where you're like, wait a minute, she's thinking more long term.
oh,
He's
okay.
not. So
Okay.
that's where I was like, okay, something is right, isn't right here. But then obviously, as you see episode 3, and I knew in back of my head, I'm like, he just doesn't know yet because Aaron never had the opportunity to tell him, even though she had
Mm,
plenty of time to tell him, she just didn't. And so it was great to see that, and he realizes it at the end. He's like, oh yeah, that's my son. Like,
oh
but
my
he never
gosh.
says it.
Yeah, I love the whole idea of the theming of these three shorts where it's that classic outlaw versus the law in Star Wars, like
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood kind of feel, all that. But yeah,
I'm about to say it was very much like those Clint Eastwood. Oh, who's the director of those films back in the day? Not Kurosawa. It's the spaghetti westerns. Oh my God, I forget his name. You know exactly, Ben. Once we say it, we already
Yeah.
know who it is. But
Um.
it's those spaghetti westerns by that director. But it reminded me of those Clint Eastwood movies back in the '70s, his trilogy. And I was like, okay, this is impressive. And obviously, we know Lucasfilm took homage from the westerns and the samurai films and the Flash Gordons of the world. So I was like, oh, this makes sense. And
mhm.
clearly, we got Dave Filoni, who's a disciple of George. That
Yep,
makes sense.
heck yeah. Heck yeah. So there you go. Hey, what do you guys think in the chat? Let us know your thoughts on the Cad Bane shorts, Tales of the Underworld. And speaking of chat, we have Small Bento Sakura, we have Skywalker's Academy, we have Rob D in the chat right now. Thanks for everybody for being here. We love you guys to be in the chat every week with us. And that brings me into my next point. We go live every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. You could join us live in the chat, but if you can't, that's okay, because we do have a podcast uploaded to podcast feeds, Apple, Spotify, more. Just search Outer Rim Transmission. Jumping into releases this week, we had Jedi Knights issue number 4, and we have Fear of the Jedi issue number 5. Oh, and part of the whole reason why I was telling the story of why I was at Best Buy, there was a whole other aspect of that. So I was recording a Star Wars podcast while I was waiting in line for about 50 minutes. So here I am holding my phone up, the usual weekly Wednesday night show over on the Star Wars Underworld where me and Matthew are talking about Star Wars comics. So here I am up against a brick wall building talking Star Wars comics as people in beat up old ass looking pickup trucks with American flags flying, going, what is going on with the line? Like, there's so many fun moments where I was like, I have to mute myself because this is just, it is, as Matthew was saying, it's good old guerrilla podcasting. I'm just out there in the wild recording. People are going, why is this guy on his phone talking loud into a mic? Like, what is happening here? But all good times, recording from a Best Buy. So check that one off the list.
That's great.
Yes, if you want to find that video, go over to the Star Wars Underworld podcast where I'm talking about those very comics, Fear of the Jedi and Jedi Knights. All right, Ben, you alerted me on this article from it's I think it's for Hollywood Reporter reported this. It's Dave Filoni, Carrie Beck seem to still be the front runners to replace Kathleen Kennedy as a co-president lead to get the ship going in the right direction, or not in the right direction, but just like that's where they're going next, maybe. So
Yeah, it was really interesting when that article released too, because it released like it was like 10 o'clock at night Eastern time or so, 10 or 11 Eastern. So it was like they released it, 7 West Coast time, which was odd because it's like after business hours for like all those, like everybody in general. So it's just it was interesting timing on that for starters. But yeah, that article broke down about like just general like succession in Hollywood in terms of like studios and how things go. And like, one of the highlights of that article was they still believe that they were pretty much corroborating what like Jeff Snyder and what Deadline and all these other things had reported months ago, that it sounds like it's likely heading in the Carrie Beck, Dave Filoni direction to, like Milton, basically like there. It's think of the co-lead setup like DC has with Peter Safran and James Gunn, where like Carrie Beck would be kind of like the more of the businessy side of things, and then Dave Filoni would be the James Gunn, like guiding the ship creatively, not necessarily obviously writing all the projects because that's too much for anybody, but he'd be potentially just guiding the ship on creative choices because you have that, and then like the interesting thing with Carrie Beck, people don't realize with her, she's already the head of the production side of things in general. Like, so her role at Lucasfilm already is, people always look to like Dave's position as the green light position. Carrie's position is actually the green light position. Like, she's what's green lighting what productions actually even get made already. That's what she's already been doing the last, like, I think 3 or 4 years she's had that position. So like, the structure's in place. It's just a matter of when, really. But yeah, that news came out pretty late in the evening, which was odd timing. And the more, like I put in our group chat too, Chris, like I think since it came out and they didn't have like Deadline or one of these other outlets didn't have an immediate rebuttal from Lucasfilm, like the big Kathy report that was posted after what happened back in February, I think it's just solidifies it where it's like it is heading in that direction. When it happens, I'm not sure. A lot of people are speculating sometime this year, but yeah, that's kind of like the breakdown of that article.
Yeah, what's also mentioned in the article, well done explaining it, Ben. You could have explained it better. You explained it better than I could have. But as far as what is concerning in the article, they say like Dave Filoni and Carrie Beck haven't had any real experience with like the movie making side of things necessarily. So that's a little concerning, just because it's like, okay, like Lucasfilm was founded as a movie making company. Yes, they've been very, very deeply involved with series that have been really well received, but like when it comes down to it, people don't think of Star Wars as a TV series foundation. It's a movie foundation. So this is a big deal because these guys are going to be steering the direction for not only Star Wars, but maybe Indiana Jones or something, like whatever future legacy kind of things that, or even new project Lucasfilm could be making. So, and that's where they mentioned like Kathleen Kennedy is going to stay on board as a producer, and that should potentially fill in that void of the experience that they met.
Kind of like a mentor role.
Give them the mentorship to be like, okay, this is what we got to do. Obviously, we know Dave Filoni. I think they said it at Celebration. I wasn't in the room, that like they did name drop his movie is still being made. Like that is the Mandoverse movie or something like that, right? Or no?
Yep. Here's the other interesting part to throw out there to you, Chris, as well as Milton. So I think it's already heading in that direction it's further down the pipeline than what we even realize publicly. Because now, if you listen to Sam Witwer's interview that he did about Maul Shadowlord, it's a brief, literally like it's like 2 sentences and then he moves on because he's talking about the show. He says, he literally says, with I got summoned out to the Lucasfilm Ranch with Dave's new position of power.
Ooh.
And then he like moved on, continued on about his day. Like, so, but he acknowledged Dave being like very powerful at Lucasfilm now. So like that is something even, it may potentially be further down the road than what we think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's definitely interesting. Yeah. So what do you think, Milton?
All I care about is if Dave Filoni's in charge, that's a good thing. I didn't see this article, but I'm all about if Dave Filoni's involved in anything, that's a good thing. Like that's honestly like my takeaway from all that.
Yeah. We got Skywalker's Academy chiming in. I have an idea. They could just make Dave Filoni the president to be the face of Lucasfilm, but nobody
Yeah,
knows who to
look,
blame for things fans
wow,
get upset about.
and like he's not wrong. Like it's, and then again, that isn't throwing shade at Kiri Hart or anyone. Like I'm not throwing shade at Kathleen. Like everyone sees Dave as the face. Like okay, sports analogy. When you think of the NBA, who's the face of that organization right now? Realistically,
I mean, it's been
like
LeBron since 2003.
exactly, exactly. So like we think it's LeBron, NBA, or NFL when Tom Brady was playing, Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? Right now it's Patrick Mahomes. So like, why are we out thinking ourselves? When people think of Star Wars now, it's usually Dave Filoni. Obviously, Kathleen's the head as a president, but people think of Chris or Dave Filoni as the face of Star Wars because of his relationship with George. The Clone Wars is universally beloved now. Like, and everything he touches is great. So why are we out thinking this? Make Dave the face of Star Wars. Everybody, men, women, people of color, white folks, don't matter. We'll all love that idea
Hmm.
because we know he loves the property. So
Hmm.
let's just do the right thing here.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think the best part about this, that angle of it, Milton, that you bring up, is we're seeing that model play out over at DC right now. You know,
Hmm.
it's Safran and Gunn. There's not a single person that brings up Peter Safran unless you're like in the know, like
Right.
all of us. So
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm saying.
Carrie,
Or like even with
like
Marvel.
so like Carrie Beck can do that stuff because she can continue with her like leading the production team, whatever, etc., and like whatever business side of things, and let Dave be kind of like the face, like marketing face of Star Wars because whether people are critical of him or not, like in general, like he at least knows how to talk publicly.
Exactly. He knows how to engage again. He knows how to engage the fans. He knows what the fans want. He knows how to articulate it when he needs to disagree with the fans and say, "Hey, you guys aren't ready for this yet." Like
Yep.
we'll get there, but he's done it plenty of times. So I like his approach. He's not cagey. He's very direct, but he's a fan. But he's also a professional too, and
Hmm.
he respects the property. I mean, look at Marvel. We think Kevin Feige. It's worked for 15 years because it's been consistent. Hopefully, DC is going to now have that with James Gunn because we think of him now. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's not rocket science here. Let's do the right thing.
Mm.
Well, I think also, Chris, I think you probably have seen uh, Campia bring this up over the years about Dave. Like, and it never really was on my radar until Campia brought it up. But the best quality of Dave Filoni is, like you said, that was a green flag for him on Dave over the years was on the first season of Mando when he directed his first episode when they did the behind the scenes of that. Like, right before they start shooting, he's like, I have no idea what I'm doing here, like at all. I don't know anything about this. Like I'm figuring this out. And like, like John Campia said, like him being humble enough to admit, like, I
Hmm.
don't know what the heck I'm doing here, and I'm gonna learn and try my best to learn. Like that's a great sign of someone in Hollywood.
I like that. I like that a lot. Plus, as mentioned in the article, like Lucasfilm tends to have like a family system. Like everybody
Yep.
kind of gets promoted that is
Mhm.
working within Lucasfilm. So it makes perfect sense from that standpoint of okay, like Kathleen Kennedy, like you were saying off air, Ben, like she's been kind of grooming and helping get experience for Carrie Beck, I'm sure at this point as another producer, like giving that knowledge, what works, what doesn't. Same thing with Dave Filoni, just a guy that's willing to learn and willing to adapt
Mhm.
to, as you just said, Ben, the situation, and willing to learn, willing to have missteps, but then learning from your missteps and moving forward. So, yeah, it like Milton keeps hitting in the nail on the head. Like this just seems obvious. Just put it into action already. As far as Sam, what were your comment on Sam? We do know that Dave Filoni like a year ago or something was promoted like chief creative officer or something like that.
Yep.
So I don't know if that he definitely has had more sway since that promotion. Whether or not he's already in talks to be a co-president or whatever you want to call it, to be determined. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, That's the best part too about like when all those people get microphones in front of them. You'll have little like nuggets come out like that are always like, oh, that's interesting that you said it that way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So let's get into the next one. Our last story for the evening and the week is a big one. We're talking about a brand new announced Star Wars movie, guys. We're talking about Star Wars Celebration. We got the Mandalorian Grogu panel, and we never had a Lucasfilm like department panel, whatever you want to Lucasfilm showcase this year. But Lucasfilm didn't hold out on us. They announced, all these projects like I think she even maybe name dropped like the Taika Waititi movie and the James Mangold movie, all still in production. And she brings out Sean Levy, director of the next Star Wars movie, 2027 May, with the main actor, the lead actor, Ryan Gosling, coming up on stage. Star Wars Starfighter, taking place like 6 years, I think, after Rise of Skywalker. We got some more information this week, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But I'll throw it over to Milton. What's your first reaction to this movie announcement? Kind of like the topic of Starfighter, Ryan Gosling as an actor. Do you think this is just in general a good place maybe to go, because this is a standalone movie too? I should mind you.
Yeah, so first thought, I thought about the video games back in the PlayStation 2 era of
Uh-huh.
Jedi Starfire, was it
Yep.
Jedi Starfighter, and then
Yep.
Yep.
there was a regular one, just regular Starfighter or something. So I thought maybe they're taking inspiration from the games, which would be kind of cool because, we love those games back in the day. Um, I think the title is just a normal title. Nothing stood out about it. It was just Star Wars Starfighter. So it's really not telling us anything except for obviously he's a pilot, he's a fighter pilot. I'm sure there'll be a lot of cool action in it. Ryan Gosling as a Star Wars, now being part of the Star Wars family, that's surprising because I never would have saw him as that type of person that want to enter this world. He's very much a romantic comedy, independent film guy. I think he doesn't really do blockbuster films. This is probably be his first one, like, right? His big studio blockbuster film.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, so yeah, like he's very much a character actor too. So I was like, okay, so it's interesting. It's a risk that I think it could work. I think the director has a track record of using characters or actors that wouldn't traditionally fit. But I think in this case, he's always had a good history of making those actors fit in that world. So I think this could be a good thing. I think Ryan, I mean, he's a good looking guy, so it's not like he will struggle to see him on the screen. But I'd be curious to see how they dirty him up a little bit to make him feel like he's a part of the Star Wars universe. Because he's too beautiful to be a part of Star Wars physically. So we need to kind of like gritty him up a little bit and make him kind of like a mix of like Han Solo, but maybe trying to think of another Star Wars character. Maybe someone like Han Solo with a mix of Andor, but also like give him like significant flaws where like, okay, I can believe he belongs here. So yeah, I'm cool with it. I was excited. I'm curious. Hopefully, it's a story that's worth telling. But yeah,
Yeah, so we have well, I'll throw it over to Ben. What's your reaction on this as well?
I mean, while I was reacting live to it, I guess when they were announcing all this stuff, it's like finally Star Wars like back to back years in theaters. Like keep it coming. Like we need
Yep.
Star Wars. We need Star Wars movies. Keep pushing out movies every single year. It's been way too long. When the first one comes out, it'll be 7 and then 8 years since we've had Star Wars movies in theaters, which is crazy to say. So I'm just happy we're getting anything, like to be honest with you. But yeah, my initial like reaction on like the details of just like it being shortly after Rise, I think it's interesting, and I'm sure you'll talk about like the little plot synopsis here in a bit. But yeah, I think Gosling is a good choice, and like you said, Milton, I think they'll probably make him like scrap him up a little because like he's a starfighter pilot and he is a really good looking dude. So it's like maybe like scrap him up. Hey, Chris, and you're to connect to your first topic, maybe like get him like real scruffy looking like Dash Rendar's character is, like
Oh
something
man,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Like I think I think Ryan Gosling is a really good actor though too. So like, at the end of the day, for me, if they're good actors and they're not like super notable, like I don't know, I couldn't imagine Dwayne Johnson in this universe, but like, give me someone, Ryan Gosling, he kind of fits in that mold of what's his face from Skeleton Crew, like another good actor
Jude Law.
that isn't like, yep, Jude Law, another actor like him where it's like a good actor, but it's not like over the top noticeable.
Yeah, good thoughts there. Good thoughts there. I mean, my reaction there, well, I'll tell you how I learned. I was waiting to get into the line at Star Wars Celebration. I was outside the Makari Messi, sorry, in Chiba, right outside of Tokyo. I was in line waiting to get into the convention for the first day. And I'm like, all right, let me just check my phone because right about now, the Mandalorian and Grogu panel is going on. I'm like, oh my gosh, they announced a new movie. Look at that. Look at that. We're waiting in line. I'm not even in the building yet, and we're getting new movie announcements. I said, oh, this is going to be a good weekend. This is going to be a great weekend. We're getting this kind of announcement at 10:05 in the morning, whatever the heck it was. But yeah, I like the boldness. I really like the boldness to start post Rise of Skywalker without it being like a trilogy movie, without it being a brand new one of 3 movies to like flesh out what's next in the Skywalker legacy or something like that. So I like that, Disney's willing to play around with doing different things, especially with standalone movies. So, I mean, we've already had 2 with Solo and Rogue One. I thought they were both great films. I really loved Rogue One. Solo is just a great adventure movie. But Starfighter, I'll kind of agree with Bill in that sense of like, okay, pretty simple title. I would like Star Wars to go back to like Rogue One or even Rogue Squadron or something a little less generic. Like, it just seems like, okay, it's just very simple. Like, why, like Star Wars Ahsoka, Star Wars Obi-Wan. Like, I'd rather them get to things like Skeleton Crew or Book of Boba Fett. Like, I like Mandalorian Grogu is a stupid title. Like, it's literally like, okay, this is what the movie's about. Like, there's no frills about it. So that's my one gripe with Lucasfilm. Let's come up with more creative titles. But it's just an algorithm thing. They're like, oh, well, we make it simple. Everybody's going to know what it is. I get that. But as a huge Starfighter fan, I absolutely love this idea. I've always wanted that Starfighter focused thing. And you can't really make a Starfighter focused show on Disney Plus. There's just going to be way too much budget that's going to require special effects to do like a dogfighting show. I know we would love that, but it'll probably never happen. So we have to get it on the big screen. Great stuff there. I did fact check myself with this article, and it is actually 5 years after Rise of Skywalker. So basically, Gosling is playing a character that must protect a young charge against evil pursuers, and this is where our new news story comes into play, because just this week we got an acknowledgement of the villain of this said movie, and this comes to us from Jeff Snyder, very good breaker of news in Hollywood, and Mia Goth, age 31, will play one of the pursuers. And that is all we know about the movie, unless, Ben, you know about more information than I do. I'm just pulling this off of the Hollywood Reporter right now in the most recent article about this stuff.
The only little tidbit that I've heard, and I heard this months ago when Celebration was going on, and since you weren't in there, so you might have not heard it, Chris, but I know folks I've seen consistently just from fans, people that were there, whatever. Apparently, it sounded like when they revealed the title Starfighter, there was like a lightsaber. There was a faint lightsaber sound. Huh. So take that for what it's worth. But other than that, I mean, that's all the details we know. Yeah.
So Mia Goth has been in a bunch of. I think it's relatively safe to say she's newer on the scene. I don't know if are either of you guys familiar with this actress?
No.
I'm not sure.
Not really.
I'm not sure.
My simple Google search, like, I saw she.
Oh, isn't she married to old boy?
Yep.
Shia LaBeouf.
Yep.
Yeah. That's how I know her.
Yeah, because I seen she was, when I Googled her, I seen she was part of some, like, different scary movies, like horror movies, it looked like, from her discography, which it fits good, and from what I've heard, anyways, about her from people I can trust on like their assessment of like acting and stuff. Like, apparently she's like really good, like expressive person with her face, which I guess for what that's worth, that would fit for a Star Wars villain. But
Hmm.
but I did hear that from like two different people when I was listening to their them talking about this actress. So like that's a good sign, and like, hey, I mean, it makes you wonder too. Going off that synopsis you just read, Chris, like, all right, so say say Gosling's, the pilot or whatever, and then the kid, and then the evil pursuers. You got Mia Goth and her probably gang of people. Like, who are they a part of? Or is it a first order remnant? Is it a just like a some sort of, like, I don't know, like, who knows, what if it's like an imperial cell from like the old empire days, and then like they're just coming active now? Like, I don't know, like, I think there's a lot of different ways they could take it. And then of course there's always like the wild card of like, is the kid force sensitive and they want to like capture the kid or something, or whatever. Like, I don't know, there's a lot of ways they could go with this story.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, when it comes to, I looked up the accolades of the actress here. Okay, so she was in Ty West's trilogy of horror movies that include X, Pearl, and Maxine. She played several roles in stories set in the 1910s, 1970s, and 1980s, so a pretty big appeal there. Here's a Star Wars connection for us. She will be seen in Guillermo del Toro's upcoming Frankenstein, starring Oscar Isaac. And she has a mystery role in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Hey, look, I just mentioned The Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey, earlier in the episode. It's coming around full circle, everybody. Look at that. So, yeah, no, I'm very curious. Like, what I get from this, and I could be totally wrong. We're going off of like literally like less than 20 words of a description here. It's like,
Right.
all right, this is a smaller story, maybe is what I'm getting out of this. A smaller story. Okay, a guy getting chased by some people. Like, it seems pretty small scale. We're not dealing with like the fall of the Republic, the rise of a new Sith Order, or anything like that. Maybe seeds are laying. Maybe that's where it could translate into like the new sequel trilogy, whenever that may come. With the episode, the Rey movie might be, I don't know, part one of three. I don't even know what's going on with that anymore. It was mentioned. It was mentioned at Celebration. though. They're still working on it, but.
Yep.
I don't know. Is that the vibe that any of you guys get? Like, just, I mean, we're going off of basically nothing right now that came to mind.
I don't know,
I mean,
it's tough. Go on, Milton.
no, but you're good. Go ahead, Ben. You're good.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, it's just kind of tough to judge, because you know it could be a totally standalone thing, but then it's like, thinking about it from like a point of view, like Star Wars getting back into theaters, um, and then inevitably we know Ray, from what we've heard, and obviously like everything's in flux, but we know Ray's establishing an academy at this time, so it's like I said, is it going to be a situation where, if it's not in this movie directly, like, does this 15-year-old kid or so, whatever age, do they end up being force sensitive by the end of the movie, and like, getting to that point with Ray? Because look, we've seen it with like Sabine and other characters that we weren't really expecting. And it's just, if we have all these potential Ray projects in the pipeline, like, there's a potential, like the Simon Kinberg thing, like all these different movies with her. To me, like, if you're having a movie like set 5 years after, I feel like it's going to connect in one way or another, whether it be the kid or the villains ending up crossing over into like that stuff as well. But what do you think, Milton?
I mean, like I mentioned, I'm not sure what we're going to get, obviously, with just that brief, synopsis, as Chris mentioned. My hope would be, honestly, like realistically, my hope would be this would be a film that feels, and I hate saying it feels like Star Wars because that's kind of cheap, but it's something like, how we felt about the last 6 episodes of Andor, and how we felt like, oh, now we're going to watch Rogue One,
Yep.
then watch New Hope. I want that feeling. Like, I want this to feel like a classic, you know, uh, Star Wars of adventure and story and a little bit nostalgic, but also some new elements to Star Wars to expand the property. Like, and I want this to be a character that we remember. Like literally, we've never
Mm.
seen Dash Rendar
Yeah.
in live action, but Dash Rendar was so iconic in the game where we are still clamoring for that character. So I'm hoping with Ryan's character or this Mia Goth's character, whoever, like that these are characters that we remember and that we're like, okay, this is a Star Wars character. Like now we know Andor is very much a Star Wars character. So that's my hope
Mm.
for this film.
Oh, my other hope, and it's just an observation more than anything else, is that this is. We went over this earlier off the air. The first time we're getting like a head honcho villain is actually a female in a Star Wars movie. We've gotten them before with Reva and Obi-Wan as a villain for a series, but this is going to be pretty cool. Like, I like the idea of female villains, especially going way back to the James Bond movies, like having the femme fatales. I'm not saying she's going to be like that, but I kind of hope that they go for an edgier version of something like a cool type of female villain to really like overpower kind of like the Ryan Gosling as the main character. Like, we haven't seen that yet in Star Wars. So I'm always excited to see that kind of thing. So I'm amped for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. I mean, look, female or non-female, as long as they make the villain mean something and has a significant impact on our lead character, like I'm fine with it. I think it's interesting to have that element going on right now. I'm pretty sure like if Star Wars should have a plan, there's no way that they would bring a character in that's a female lead for a villain and not use her in a way that's going to make her last or make her at least like be impactful. I would hope.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I could definitely see her being a potential lasting character, and I think one of the best parts about this entire thing, whether it be with her or this entire project, is just at minimum, at minimum, worst case scenario, like Sean Levy puts out at minimum like B level movies, that are solid, good, well rounded movies. You're not getting a like terrible, misconstructed, just bad stories. Like we're gonna get something at least, I think, appetizing, where it'll be just a good fun movie. Say what you want after when it first came out, but like even if we get something that's like on the level of like, good solidness of like Solo, I think this would be a success. Just like a good solid Starfighter pilot movie with some drama and whatever. I think we'll be heading in a good direction. Who knows? Maybe you bring it up, Milton, on like the connection of like Andor to Rogue One and Rogue One to A New Hope and so on. Like maybe this is the Rogue One to the Rey movies. Like maybe this is like the stepping stone. Even though they're saying it's separate, like that's always like a semantics thing with Star Wars because they're like, well, it's separate from the Skywalker saga, but we're still gonna have Anakin Skywalker and Vader in Rogue One and so on. Like, I think they say that just so they don't have to stamp Episode 10 on it. But it's like, is this truly going to be disconnected, or is it going to be just like a semantics word game for semantics' sake?
I want to go to a comment we had earlier in the show from Rob D. My only question about Starfighter, is it going to actually happen, or is it another thing just to make the shareholders happy? Now, I have an exact answer to this one, a quick response, because I was watching Sean Levy present this answer about 30 feet away from me because we were standing at the live stage, and Ryan Gosling, Sean Levy came up for interviews right there in front of the whole 3,000 people crowd cheering and going nuts. And they were like, we're actually not even in, pre-development. We're actually shooting. We're actually in pre-production, like building stuff. We're going to be shooting in fall. Like, this is not like them writing scripts and doing rewrites. Like, they are locked in. Stuff is being made as we speak. They're going to be shooting in England in a couple months. This is the closest we've ever had the announcement of a movie and then them working on the movie. So I'm so happy that Lucasfilm has finally heard our cries and said, don't announce this stuff until you're ready to actually shoot it, So I'm happy. I don't think this is not going to get made ever. Like, this is getting made. It's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's for sure getting made just because of all those reasons. They wouldn't start building all these sets and doing these things to not make it. And usually with Star Wars, I think when they shot in the fall under the Disney umbrella, usually it's usually late September, early October is when that it's like that third week of September to first week of October range is usually when because
Oh,
I think that was when Mando started shooting. That was when a couple of the other big productions like Kenobi, I think, was that time frame as well. So like we're only a few months away from like probably getting that. Well, I'm sure they'll post like a picture of like Sean Levy on set like day one or something.
yep. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Well, and it's to go back to him, like with the timeline of the fall. Well, he's apparently going to do another Deadpool Wolverine sequel,
Really?
and then he's also directing. Well, I assume he's are currently working on it now. He's directing one of the Stranger Things episodes for this last season, so he's tied to that. So that's probably why they're shooting in the fall.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
I would assume so. And like the good thing with him was like, I mean, gosh, it's nice they're picking up people that are on good streaks
Yeah.
with productions. Like Deadpool last year was great, and his work on Stranger Things over the years has been really good, and a lot of his other work has been really good. So it's nice that we're getting like this. Kind of reminds me of the showrunner of Skeleton Crew. Like we're getting another
Mhm.
just good solid director in there to work on this.
Yeah, and no one has ever said any bad things about Skeleton Crew. Like that's been a pretty universally accepted as a good, if not better, TV show. There's nothing
Yep.
abhorrently wrong that's causing the fans to go in uproar, going, "Oh, this isn't my character. They destroyed this guy." Like it's good, and it's all new characters, right? So that's what I'm getting a vibe out of this. So like brand new slate of characters. I'm looking forward to the lore. I'm looking forward to seeing. All right, they are 5 years after the Battle of Exegol. What has happened? What kind of government are we looking at? What kind of things are the First Order even around anymore? What's happening in the galaxy? So that is what I'm most tantalizingly looking forward to because the sequels kind of feel like they mishandled that. They mishandled like the state of the galaxy, the politics. They just didn't really get into it unless you read the books. So hopefully Lucasfilm has a better handle on these things. It goes, okay, we know what the fans like, we know what they don't like, we know what works, what doesn't work. Let's really work hard on this and not like if we have to delay this thing to get it right. So that's all I care about.
Oh yeah, it's really good. We we're getting this when we are. Also, it's nice. Like it's nice they're showing confidence in this because there's a huge difference between bringing Sean Levy and Ryan Gosling and all these folks out to talk about it versus just announcing a movie and then it never happening. Because like when you bring then again, I guess I'm kind of going against my own words because we did see Josh Trank come out and talk about the Boba Fett movie years and years ago, and that never came out. So I
Mhm.
guess I could eat my words on that. But okay, I guess I'll say I'm hoping and hopeful this continues because at least the sets and things are getting made. So like they're investing actual money into it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So there you go. Those are all of our thoughts on Star Wars Starfighter. There's not much to go on right now, but hey, new actors are being casted, and this is a fun time to be a Star Wars fan because we're gonna get these reports for the next year and a half, the next 2 years. We are less than 2 years away. This film is releasing at the end of May 2027. And then next May, we are less than a year from the next Star Wars movie with Mandalorian and Grogu. So a lot of things kicking up, a lot of things picking up, and it's a great time to be a fan. So that's going to do it for our show here tonight. Outer Rim Transmission, this is 199. Throw it over to you, Milton. Where can the people find you and all your stuff on the internet?
Yeah. You can find me on X at Milton Weber 7 or on Instagram at Milton7Weber. Hit me up on either platform. I like to laugh, joke, have a good time, talk about sports, Star Wars, whatever. Yeah, appreciate you guys listening and watching like always.
Oh, yeah. Ben?
Yeah, you can find me talking about Star Wars, sports, fitness, all that stuff on X or Instagram at Real Ben Maynard.
There you go. You can find me right here on youtube.com/Starrapter. And you can always listen to us on Outer Rim Transmission podcast form on Apple, on Spotify, wherever else you get your podcast. This week, I will be most likely giving my initial impressions on this very piece of hardware, the Nintendo Switch 2. So be on the lookout for my thoughts and my midnight launch fun shenanigans and all that good stuff on the channel later this week. And of course, comics and whatever breaking news might happen. Who knows if I ever just might do a random video if I have some crazy news coming out. You never know. That's why you got to subscribe to youtube.com/Starrapter. So until next time, for Milton, for Ben, for I, Chris, aka Starrapter, this is going to do it for episode 199, coming in next week for 200. Thanks for watching, everybody. May the force be with you. End transmission.